Hello everyone, if everything worked correctly, we should be live finally. Also, I completely forgot to plug in my computer, so it's discharging. Finally, also, now this should be working, so it's nice. Okay, so today we're going to talk about whatever you ask me. Now this should be working. And basically you can just ask me whatever. And just to start off things right, I wanna quickly go through the answers of my latest tweet, because that was interesting, which was about Plasma 6. And as always, these kind of questions are trap questions. What are you waiting for in Plasma 6 exactly? So the most correct answer I've seen is by a developer, and that is API break and API cleanup, which, okay. But I've seen stuff like major changes, better will and support, the notch, which is truly beautiful, consistency and stuff like that. And to be fair, I understand that. But right now, Plasma 6 shouldn't be in its design a major release with a lot of changes as far as the user knows, but rather a lot of changes behind the scenes, so like refactoring, but also API cleanups and stuff like that. So that's what you should expect from Plasma 6. And stuff like consistency or better will and support, that's going to come before Plasma 6. So hello everyone, I see comments, nice. Hello, hello. Nice to see you all in a new live stream. And what can I say except give a look to this beautiful programming language and ask me anything really, so we can get this started. Let me just close down a bit of stuff. So what are you interested in discovering about the world of KDE Plasma that I'm able to actually answer? Let me also open up the KDE subreddit. Let me see live chat. No, I think I see everything. How much work does it take to handle compatibility all the way back to really old programs? As far as KDE goes, KDE does have some pretty old programs. There is, this kind of things is a bit hard to manage when it's about, as an example, updating the design of some applications that are using a very old one. As far as compatibility goes, I don't think it's really a KDE matter. So you're probably asking the wrong person, but there is something to be said in actually... Oh, hello, moderator. The Linux dude, hello. And there is something to be said about old programs having to also work in newer frameworks and stuff like that. But it's not about compatibility, right? Compatibility, sorry, I was missing a T. Some stuttering in Dolphin when scrolling in a maximized state. That's weird though. Actually, I was seeing exactly the opposite in x.org. When I scroll in X, I always see some stuttering. In Wayland, it's much better, but I don't know. It really depends on the hardware, I think. Also 4K, I don't have a 4K monitor. Changing the screen brightness using the scroll wheel doesn't work when scrolling very fast. That's interesting. I'm going to try that. Right now I'm on Gnome. I've done videos about that, but when I get back to KDE Plasma, I'm gonna try that. Scrolling very fast. Do you have like an actual mouse with an actual scrolling wheel, or is it like a touchpad thing? Interesting in learning more about KDE and translation. Okay, so as far as translation goes, I've never actually done translation myself, sadly. I wanted to, but never quite had the time. But let me see. In order to get involved in translation, you go to kde.org, get involved. You go to the translation section, and you click on find out more about becoming a KDE translator. And this is surely going to explain everything better than I could, since I never did translation and the people who wrote this did. And you've got like IRC channels, I think also matrix channels, so you can LibreChat. Okay. And you can join there, you can ask there if you need help, and there is a translation how-to here. I sometimes do see people saying that our translation system isn't the best, but I know nothing about it, so check it out. Check it out, and I hope that this is enough to get you started. As far as learning more about KDE in general, the best way to do that is like join the community, join the chats about KDE, discuss, follow the news, stuff like that. There are some chats about the KDE community, like on Telegram. There is the Telegram KDE, and in here we should have KDE community somewhere, unless it got removed. Yes, KDE Plasma, this one. This one is the biggest chat for the community. I'd suggest you join that if you have Telegram, but there are so many ways to actually learn more about KDE Plasma itself, or KDE in general. Have you previously experienced KDE themes breaking Qt apps? I mean, like GNOME claiming GTK themes break up. So yes, that can always happen. It depends on what we're talking about, because I think KDE was very careful in making sure that the theming system is put in such a way that it makes it very hard for the user to break it. So if we open system settings, and maybe I even have them, yes. I'm currently running KDE system settings in GNOME, so that's pretty cool. In the appearance section, we have lots of stuff. So important mention, colors only changed the color theme, and maybe they could like purposely break stuff, but not by accident, because you just have to set the colors, and it's very hard for a color scheme to be broken. So if you stick to changing the color scheme, everything is going to work fine. Then you also have Plasma themes that customize Plasma, and in theory this could make a mess, but in practice it's actually rather hard to do, and usually if there are issues it's because of the applets and not really about the Plasma style. So these two are safe. We also have window decoration. It depends on how they're done, but most of them are done through like Aurorae or Aurorae, and those are rather safe. They usually work out of the box. So this one is also safe. And then there is application style, which is slightly more risky. But this one actually doesn't support downloading third-party application styles directly from the store. So if this could go wrong, like this technically could go a bit more wrong compared to the other three, but you have to manually install them, so it's a bit safer. So overall, I don't quite see issues most of the times. There could be stuff with like third-party icons, but I'm not sure about those. So mostly all of the theming system is safe. You could decide to mess it up. Personally, I do think that theming is very important, and we should totally support it. When I launch some games, is it intended that I lose shadows and other effects? Actually, yes. That's because compositing turned off, and that's to boost up the performance of the games by not drawing stuff like opacity. No, opacity is drawn, I think. stuff like a blur or shadows, you actually make the system slightly faster, and that could help in games. And usually games are full screen, so you don't quite notice it, in theory at least. And that's a little thing. You can probably disable that behavior somewhat, but you can also go in system settings and mess around with the compositor settings. Here, allow application to block compositing. This should be it. And it's stuff to make your system slightly faster when you're using games, as far as I know. Would you recommend the KDE experience in Fedora? I never used it in Fedora, but everyone who did talked very nicely about it. So yes, totally, try it out. How or when can we have our support in Discover for Arc? I don't think that's something you should ask Discover. That's probably up to Arc to some extent if they want. I don't think they want to enable this. Like, I think the hour is not supposed to look as official as if it was on Discover. But I mean, it could be done, technically speaking. I'm just not sure that it's up to KDE, and I'm also not sure that it's something that Arc wants to achieve at all. No, I will go back to KDE Plasma, don't worry. Soon. Is your head floating? Yes, I was trying out this effect of wearing... this is so fun. This is like a green hoodie. So yeah, I did it on purpose. I thought it was going to be fun. I heard that KDE default theme was getting a visual overhaul. Any update on that? Yep, it's mostly done actually, correctly, yeah. And it looks much better than before. Of course, there is still some room for improvements, and we are working on that room for improvement. But it's mostly done. It was like the margins were a bit fixed. The style of the application was changed. Now they have the header area. You also have it in applets, etc., stuff like that. Also the new highlights being applied consistently everywhere. There has been very nice work going on, and it's mostly done. Yeah, floating head talking in real time. Yeah. Can I get your desktop background? Sure, you just have to go to Google and search for Porco Rosso Fio wallpaper. Oh, here. I think it's this one. Yes. This is low quality though. Porco Rosso Fio wallpaper. And you should easily find this in the first link. You just scroll a bit and it's here. Here we are. This one. Themes are themes, and themes break. I mean, they don't have to. Potentially, yeah. If you set like the text color to be exactly the wallpaper the background color, then you know it's going to be a mess. But in theory, they should only be broken if the author did it on purpose. Themes should never accidentally be broken, in theory. That's the goal, at least. KTurtle might have something broken, but I think it's the fault is in KTurtle itself and not really the theming system. You can set the same background color and foreground color and breakups. Yeah, totally. But again, that's on purpose. Accidentally, this shouldn't happen. Now we've got an admin. Yes, we are very professional in here, and I totally warned my admin that I was going to be live before going live. Like, totally. I totally did that. But he's here. Sometimes games make my screen glitchy after I close it. If it disappears very quickly, then it's probably compositing being turned on and off. That could cause some glitch for a couple of seconds top. If it persists, either the compositing wasn't turned on automatically after you close the game, or NVIDIA is at fault, yeah. Rayman, yes, that game. Yeah, it totally looked like. Yeah. Oh lol. Yeah, it totally looked like Rayman. That game was beautiful, by the way. Did that overall come to icons as well? Some icons, but most of the redesigned icons are not yet published. Hopefully some of them will come in 5.25. Worst case scenario 5.26. But yeah, new icons are indeed coming. KDE Plasma is mostly C++, C++ and the QML. But yeah, mostly C++ and QML. Can we get the emoji selector paste emoji directly on the app? Oh, I've got no clue, sorry. That's beyond my competencies. I don't know. You should check out who did the emoji thingy. There should be a repository. Hello, emoji. Yeah. I don't see it. Maybe it's part of a bigger project. I don't know. Should be somewhere. Very helpful, right? Yes, as that Linux dude was saying, download icons go into .local share icons. Usually, if you open up like .local, let me open it up, user, and then .local, this should be like your .local, and then it's share Plasma. Most of the stuff, like third-party stuff that you download, go here. So you've got like plasmoids for third-party plasmoids, desktop theme for third-party Plasma themes, layouts, probably. What is this? Yes, this is a patch that I was trying, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a patch that I was trying. Yes, it's empty with a to-do. Yeah, this was totally a merge request that I was trying. Layout templates for the layout templates that you see when you right-click the wallpaper and go to add new panel. And then panel. It's panel, right? And then look and feel for the look and feels. Yep. I don't think this is an official Ghibli wallpaper though. I have lots of Ghibli wallpapers. I don't think this is official though. So what is your advice to learn C++ if coming from JS or Python, books, other sources? So I was actually coming from Python when I first learned, started contributing to KDE Plasma, and I'm not a big C++ expert at all. I would suggest, if you're coming from there, to start learning QML rather than C++, because it's actually more important and easier to learn. And if you want to make your changes immediately, then it's much easier to learn if you know QML. And QML as an handbook, which every time I completely forgot the link of, but you can search for like a QML cookbook or handbook. And if you don't find it, just send me an email and I'll fetch the link again. What are some fun challenges with coding for KDE? Fun challenges. Okay. Let me actually junior jobs. Probably these ones. Probably. I mean, it really depends on your definition of fun. You've got this link for all of the things that should be easy to do in theory. In practice, I wouldn't be able to do like 1% of these things, but yeah. Fun coding challenges. I mean, you could do an applet. Doing applet is fun. And it's actually rather easy if you know a bit of JavaScript and QML. So I've actually done a video on, generally speaking, how to set up your environment to do applets. So you can check that one out if you want. And I would probably totally suggest doing applets if you want to do something slightly easier and fun for KDE Plasma. Yeah, there should be some way to restart the compositor. You go into System Settings, Compositor, and you just disable it and then enable it again. That should restart it. Why did you choose KDE over Gnome Xfce and others? Okay, 2 questions. First one, why did I choose KDE over Gnome Xfce? So actually by trying them out. When I first joined like the Linux party, I went with Ubuntu, which back then still had Unity. Then after Unity, I didn't quite like it for some reason. It was years ago, especially because it was very hard to change the brightness, and I didn't like that. You had to like open settings to change the screen brightness. So that was annoying. I know it's the little things, but yet. And so I was suggested to try out Gnome. And I actually sticked with Gnome for a couple of weeks. And then a couple of weeks I thought, okay, Gnome sounds cool. I mean, it works. I like it. But I wonder if there's anything better. And I read from a list of desktops, and there was like Xfce and stuff, and I looked at it and I was like, this looks like from 30 years ago. So I never actually tried it. And then there was KDE Plasma, and with KDE Plasma 2, I was like, this looks like from 10 years ago, but I mean, 10 is better than 30. So I tried it out and I just loved it because of themes, and it felt so modern when I actually went ahead and themed it. So I just loved it. So I started using it a lot, and I was doing a lot of like custom themes because I knew how to use Inkscape, and Plasma themes are Inkscape, and I just loved customizing everything. And after like a year, I thought, okay, the project that I most like from the open source world is KDE. So if I want to contribute to something, that's going to be KDE. And I looked into how to contribute, and it took me a good year or so, but after that, I managed. What is your favorite video game? It is probably either Cave Story, amazing video game, or Kerbal Space Program. No, Kerbal Space Program. One of these two. I spent so many hours on both of them. It's any official form to export my configuration to a file? Not official, there's no official way, but you can use Plasma Config Saver. And if you go to YouTube and search for Nikolov Plasma Config Saver, you will find some video. Config. Thank you. Here, this video. Save and load, blah, blah, blah. Don't translate, Google. Nah, never mind. This video that actually tells you how to download it and use it, so you just use that one. What is the airspeed velocity of an laden swallow? Depends on the swallow. I think. What kind of style? Is it like American or what? I choose KDE apps and ecosystem. Yeah, Kevstar I'm using is pretty good. The apps are good too, indeed, especially like I still think that KDE apps are significantly better than Gnome apps. That's my opinion. And so yeah, I didn't choose it for the apps, but I chose it for the customization of KDE Plasma. But the apps are pretty good in my opinion too. I think really that if you have the time to ask for a bug in a live stream on YouTube, you do have the time to file a bug for it. So open up bugs.kde.org and file a bug. Check out if there's any existing bug. If you really don't have the time to do it, just send me an email and I'll do it for you. But if you really don't have the time to do it. Yo, do you plan to create contents other than developing with KDE? Well, yes. Like if you go see the content in my channel, it's lately it's mostly unrelated to me being a developer of KDE. Depends on the video, but something that I'm trying to do is being more generic about Linux desktops in general, and then of course I want to be like a Linux YouTuber in general. But yeah, stuff like this. This was a GNOME plugin. This is a Plasma plugin. This is a text editor of GNOME versus the KDE one. This was just me messing up with my Ubuntu system, so I'm trying to expand a bit on my, content goal. Is KDE Neon ever going to implement a backup system that could make snapshots in the event of faulty updates? Not soon for sure. I don't think so. Of course, you should ask that to KDE Neon developers, but I don't think there is any such plan. And in general, maintaining a distro takes some manpower, and KDE Neon doesn't have as many people as it should have probably to also implement these kind of features. So probably not, but maybe I'm completely wrong. I never saw something like this being discussed in the context of KDE Neon. My opinion, you have to know these things when you're a KDE developer. Which things? Sorry. Specify what? I'm not omniscient. I always say that. What is your opinion on Xfce? My issue with Xfce is that out of the box, this is probably an old screenshot too. What year is this? I don't know. It looks so old. Like this is from just last year. It just looks dated. That's my biggest issue with it. I'm sure that some people use it and find it very good as a product, and I don't doubt that at all. However, personally, I wouldn't use it because I do think that KDE Plasma is very lightweight, as lightweight as Xfce on most computers, and it has more features, and I think it looks better. So I think that KDE Plasma mostly wins on Xfce. Mostly, of course, there are some use cases that do require Xfce. So personally, I'm not a big fan, but depends on what you want to do with it. What's next when it comes to virtual keyboards with KDE? Malit can be temperamental between updates. As far as I know, Malit is the one we switched to, right? That's the one. We do have in system settings, maybe I even have it, I don't think so though. Yeah, I don't have it. There is a section in system settings to actually switch between virtual keyboards. So maybe in the future, if there's more, you can even quickly switch between them to whatever you need. Right now, we recently switched to Mallet, right? That's, if I recall correctly, that's what happened, and I didn't see any plan to switch away from it. So that's probably going to stick. Yes. Now I understood as, yes, sorry. I had lost reference. Do you think virtual desktops are still a GNOME thing? It seems KDE users aren't used to virtual desktops sporadic. It's more fundamental in how GNOME works, but I also think they're used in KDE. I don't think they are a GNOME thing. I don't think they were ever. However, GNOME makes much more use of them, simply because stuff like if I go to a new desktop as an example, and I have this window, I want to get rid of it. On KDE Plasma, you can minimize this. On GNOME, there's no such icon, so you need to switch to a new desktop, which is the whole point. That's how it's supposed to work. So in GNOME, desktops are much more important, but in KDE Plasma, I do see many users using them anyway, so I don't think virtual desktops are a GNOME thing. They just use them more fundamentally. What icons do you prefer? KDE, GNOME, or something else? Good one, very good one. Surely something else, because as good as KDE and GNOME icons are, there are some third-party projects that are able to do some third-party icons that are like amazing. I actually kind of liked, the latest it was like, what was the name of the latest Macintosh? They had some nice icons, but yeah, I mean, probably not necessarily better than the Breeze ones. I thought they were nice when I first saw them. I also really like some material design icons. I can't quite find just one project of which I like all icons, but sometimes I do see icons around and I'm like, wow. Also, like the Oxygen 2 icons are beautiful, so I totally love those. Do you know any other developer that develops for both Plasma and GNOME? Please notice that I do not develop for GNOME, I just use it. I only develop for KDE Plasma right now. So, but I don't think there is any developer who actively develops for both KDE Plasma and the GNOME shell. So my answer is I think no one is doing that. But maybe there is some, but no, how do I say this? No major developer is doing that. So Ksnip versus Spectacle. I prefer Spectacle. It does everything. It's nice. It has a good UI. I use virtual desktops for putting stuff like Discord but console in second desktop. Yeah, that's a possible usage. There are many of them. It all depends on what you do. So blue wallpaper screenshot is Xfce currently. Nice. Have you played Outer Wilds? Actually, I played it like 10 minutes ago. Just before starting the live stream, I was playing Outer Wilds in the other room, actually with VR. So Outer Wilds VR, that's very good. Don't you think Xfce could use Qt instead of JDK? No, I mean, maybe in another universe, but if it's using GTK right now, switching to Qt entirely is just impossible. So nope. Somehow KDE Neon always works better than Kubuntu. It really depends on the user. Sometimes one works, sometimes one doesn't, for very abstract reasons, I think. Generally speaking, KDE Neon is more up to date with KDE software, so maybe you receive some more bug fixes, but Kubuntu is rather stable most of the time, so who knows. Have you seen Enlightenment DE? I think so. Right now I need a screenshot to recall it. I've never tried it. I just glanced through it. So yeah. I've never tried it. I should probably try it. Why is there so much focus on the touchpad experience? I doubt most of the people that who are using KDE or any other PC as daily drivers are using PC as in laptop mode. I think you're wrong. Personally, I do think that most people use touchpads. That's my guess. Most of the users that I saw using any computer or KDE Plasma in particular are using touchpads, and we're especially focusing on touchpad because the mouse experience is already really as good as it can get. Honestly, there's even all of the shortcuts, all of the middle click mouse shortcuts to be implemented already, whereas the touchpad experience was really behind. So it's very nice to see that there is more people working on the touchpad experience. I believe more people are using keyboard and mouse. I personally disagree. For example, mouse gestures are broken for quite some time. They are ancient, and it's not a concept that anybody uses currently. Like nobody in any other desktop, uses mouse gestures. So I think those things are outdated and they should probably be removed. What is the current state of the new Blue Ocean overall? I love the new icons. Okay, so generally speaking, most of the stuff of the Blue Ocean is done, most of it. What remains are stuff like, as an example, Dolphin and other apps like Dolphin should get their frames removed and switch to a more origami appearance. That's currently being implemented. So not 5.25 because that's too soon, but maybe 5.26 if there's time to it could see that. New icons are coming soon as well, not all of them in one shot, but part of them. Hopefully 5.25. Worst case scenario 5.26, that can happen. Apart from that, I think most of the stuff is done and there's only like small details left. Some apps are being redesigned, like Discover is currently getting a lot of attention. So, but again, these take more versions, so most of the stuff is actually done. You look like Zordon. Yeah. Are you using OpenSUSE? Nope. I'm using Ubuntu. This is Ubuntu. This is what came out of the box with it. The way workspaces are exposed in GNOME is really clever. I still prefer having a dock and alt tabbing. I've used workspaces in the past. Yeah, it really depends on your use case. For GNOME, default GNOME, you have to use workspaces. Or you use like a plugin that gives you back minimize and a dock, but that's not the default GNOME. The default GNOME totally needs workspaces. Yeah, mouse gestures are of course much more niche compared to touchpad gestures. Like, come on, come on. Any plans are on implementing blur by default on KDE Plasma in some place? There's already blur by default in some place, and some place is behind panels and applets. So like in GNOME, now that I have the blur meshal extension, behind the panel there is blur, and there is blur as well in KDE Plasma by default behind the panels. And also if you have open up like kickoff or the calendar, there is blur behind them as well. So we do have blur behind those. Papyrus project is dead because of war. Was the developer from Ukraine? That would be sad. Last commit 21 March. Okay, makes sense. Is there any like news that I should find? I don't know. Do you have some links? That would be interesting. Sorry, this is the people. Maybe a pattern update. Let's see. Oops. Nope. If you have links, I'd be interested. Is KDE 3 just TDE on the current release of Linux? Isn't the opposite? The question, shouldn't the question be the opposite? Is TDE just KDE 3 on the current release of? Could very well be. I've never actually used TDE. Here it is. TDE is such a weird project, like in its idea. I should probably try it out. Why doesn't KDE use Latidoc as default? Let me try to answer with a Fabricator topic, which is called Latidoc something. And I actually created years ago, Fabricator is so slow. I actually created years ago a task asking to make Latidoc the default panel in Plasma. And that required, in order for it to be implemented, some changes. Just as an example, the easiest one is that the configuration window of Latidoc doesn't follow your Plasma theme. And if we want Latidoc to be defaulted, we do want it to follow the default theme. However, people weren't too happy about the idea in general. Although myself, and consider how to unify Lati and Plasma panels. Here, you can read this one. And there was a lot of discussion, of course, including the developer of Latidoc too, but developers were mostly against this thing. So there was nice talk about how different ways to help out Latidoc correctly integrate in KDE Plasma. So if you're interested, check this one out. What do you think about Manjaro Kde? Okay, Manjaro did screw up a lot of things in the past. So there's that. But apart from the developers, Manjaro Kde is fine. So have you seen Ubuntu Kylin? I've seen the advertisement for it. What desktop does it use again? Kylin? Yes, it is UQE, right. It's fine. Another Chinese desktop that is like half-baked, I guess. I should try it. I'll put it in my to-do list. What is your opinion of UIs interacting with hover on scroll instead of clicking? As an example, KDE Application Launcher changes as you hover categories, and volume slider changes on scroll. So, okay, it's two different things. As far as scroll goes, we should only use scroll as a shortcut, and also always provide the same thing through a standard UI through clicks. So as an example, the volume, you can still change the volume even if you don't want to scroll. So this is a different way to do things that should not never replace the main thing. Over is depends on how you use it. The only thing that you should be extra careful about when using over for things, which is fine. You do sometimes need to use over, but when you do, you need to make sure that touch screen laptops are still able to access everything correctly. Sometimes you implement something in touch and you're not able, with over, and you're not actually able to trigger it with a touch screen because they don't have over. But for stuff like the application launcher, I think it's totally fine to use over because you can just click it and it has the same exact effect. Enlightenment doesn't use Kde or GTK, but E. Is E like a framework or something? I never heard about E. KDE does technically use Latte by default if you change global themes. Yes, but you do have to have Latte installed, and I think it's not installed by default, so probably it's not really default if you have to install it, right? What's the worst implementation of Plasma in your opinion? Name a distro. The worst implementation. There's Kali Linux is using KDE Plasma, if I remember correctly, yes. And the distro itself could be the best thing ever. Sorry. It used KDE Plasma at some point, I think. Where is it? So basically, they have something that completely replicates Windows to pretend that you're okay. That's fun. Okay, and they do have a KDE Plasma version. Okay, they do have one, and often we receive bug reports about it, and it's usually people who don't know how to use Kali, and so you receive lots of bug reports from dumb stuff, and we have to always answer with, don't use Kali, please. So, do you watch Spy X Family, by the way? It's damn cute. I saw it a lot on TikTok, and I don't know if I'm gonna watch it, but I actually recommend it to my sister. What is your opinion on background contrast? I feel that it should not be enabled by default. It should totally be enabled by default. I've spent so much time working on the perfect values for the background contrast. I think that people seriously underestimate just how important background contrast is for the design of KDE Plasma. It does bring up some bugs sometimes, but not as much as people think it does. It would be cool to to have an official tiling mode. Dude, just use Bismuth. This one. Just use Bismuth. Because you're never going to get something official, and if you did get something official, it would be this, just this. So just get Bismuth. I've done a video about it if you want. Don't you think more people will use GNOME due to the fact that it resembles more Android, and KDE still resembles more the old Windows paradigm? That's actually an interesting take. Usually I see much worse takes. This is actually interesting. I think that for now we are safe because, as an example, I've done a couple of videos about a complete noob trying out Linux, and he actually preferred KDE Plasma because it was similar to Windows, even though he actually has an Android phone. And I think that as far as computers go, people still have Windows in their mind when they approach them. So I don't think this is happening on the short term, but you are totally right that on the long term, this might be more significant. So I don't know, could be something to discuss. Right now, I don't think it's an issue, but maybe in the future. Sorry, I have got no idea. Dolphin goes by the KDE Gear release. Yes, I often confuse it, but yeah. KDE Gear, Dolphin. Yes, because in KDE Plasma releases, you have Discover and you have System Settings, not Dolphin. Sorry, I always get confused. In the Start menu, when we hover an application and move the cursor out of the Start menu, it remains selected. No, it's not a bug, I think. No, I don't think it's a bug. You could argue that it's something that could change, but in theory, it's how it's supposed to be. You always keep something selected. Why KDE lacks little animations inside apps like Gnome? This is a very general question. I don't know. I do think that Kurigami, so the newer KDE applications, have some more animations. So if you like that, I think that's going to change. But this is such like a general question. I can't give you some detailed answer. Do you think KDE Plasma 6 would introduce a new design language different than KDE Plasma 5? No. Are you considering about touchscreen and stylus implementation in KDE? I just bought a Surface. I wonder if you could use it at a university for taking notes. Yes, there is a clear interest in making this better. Of course, it's not perfect right now. It's being improved, and the touch screen, like now there is a touch screen mode that's being improved. Stylus should work. I recommend you try out Xornal++. It's pretty good. It should work. It still has some room for improvement, but it's getting worked on. Now, I do think that GNOME resembles Android somewhat. As an example, the idea of having this giant list of applications like this, I do think that is I think that Android users are used to compared to like Windows users. Of course, it's not Android, but I do think it resembles it somewhat. I know it's a KDE 3 fork, but I don't know if they changed anything after forking. They could, maybe they did. KDE and GNOME do have fundamentally different philosophies, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with this comment. 100% agree. Yeah, touchpad gestures for workspaces is pretty good. Yeah, I'm so happy that we have the gestures now too, because it's so much better. How is the state of smooth animated kinematic cinematic, I don't know, scrolling looking plasma right now. There is a nice post about this year under the tag of something something. Nope. Yes, this one. I think it talks about Kim. Nah, come on. Ah, here, inertial touchpad scrolling. Yep, this one. A big improvement, which is this one. It was merged 5 months ago, so the situation should improve. It's not something that comes really quickly, but in theory from now on it should take less, so that's an improvement. I mean, you still have activities, they are just a bit buggy. I used to use activities a lot. I mean, there's also KDE fanboy. I mean, if you compared KDE to Windows in the wrong way, I would also get annoyed. You shouldn't say like Gnome is like Android, just like that. It's not nice to say. You have to put some context around it. I do think that Gnomes recalls Android more compared to KDE Plasma, it's true. And also it's true that KDE Plasma is more similar to Windows compared to Gnome, obviously. However, saying that KDE Plasma looks like Windows, which I hear a lot, is very annoying to hear, so don't say things like that. Nitrux, by the way, is Nitrux sticking with KDE Plasma? I think it's going to switch away from KDE Plasma anyway, so yeah, this is not KDE Plasma. Ah, yes, it is KDE Plasma. Oh, ouch. But yeah, it's going to use the NX desktop soon, so not the NX desktop. I think it's going to switch. Maybe I'm confusing myself. I thought it was going to switch with Maui. Yes, I think it's going to switch to Maui shell. So don't worry if you don't like it with KDE Plasma. They're switching to Maui shell anyway. How is an idea approved? And we discuss. That's the easy answer. It obviously depends on what the idea is, but just to give you a quick idea, let me go through like this one as an example. This is liked, but not by everyone, and there is like a lot of discussion on how to correctly implement this. So you can see people discussing, and usually there's no such thing as like voting. We just discuss to death until somebody dies, and the people who survive implement that thing. But I mean, it's usually resolved in a nice way between community members. Any plans on adding a new menu option or removing really old one from KDE Plasma default? A new menu the new menu is like very new, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. Ouch. Very much ouch. I mean, call it whatever you want. No, don't call it what you want. It's called a war. Not a military, but it's called a war. Don't call it what you want. Yeah. Yeah, it's very sad to see and I hope that everything goes nicely. Let me add an earth. Hope that everything ends nicely. The new menu for KDE Plasma is actually very new, so I don't see why you want a new one. So yeah. Will there be KDE Flatpak? I do think that it's totally something that should probably be achieved by the KDE apps goal. So probably, but you totally need to ask that to KDE developers. In theory, that's something that KDE strives for, having Flatpaks for its apps. Does Plasma disable all animation effects when it detects a game that is running? Yes, it turns off compositing. Is kwrite and kate sort of equivalent? Yes, kwrite is kate with without some plugins. So yeah. Please stop spamming. When will GNOME be viable? It's already it's in our hearts. We just need to stop and think about it, and we'll start using it. Will any schedule wallpaper type in future? Sorry, this message is not understandable. Please rewrite it slightly so I can understand it. Do you check Odyssey comments at all? I do every couple of months. I'm sorry, I'm just already very busy, and checking the comments on all of my places is not... Oh yes, people are actually commenting things. Oops. Okay, I'll check it out. I promise I'll check it out after this stream. Yes, NX currently is KDE Plasma. They are not part of KDE. They're using KDE Plasma. They're going to switch to MAUI shell very soon. Can KDE focus on fixing bugs and adding new features week-wise? Like on 1 week it focuses on fixing bugs, and next week, no, that's not going to work, especially because most of the stuff actually requires more than 1 week. So it doesn't quite work. Will you ever try TDE? Yes, sooner or later I'll try it, and I'll speak badly about it, probably. Are virtual desktops in KDE available on Wayland? I think so. I think Malit is totally available on Wayland too, so yeah. What do you think about Cosmic being based on Rust? It's interesting. It's very interesting, but I do want to see what they come up with before doing some in-depth commentary about it. So just the idea of doing Cosmic on Rust is not bad, but I do totally need to see how they do it. They can totally screw it up, but also make it correctly. Who knows? Is it possible to pin widgets in new panels so that the widget will take its amount of space? This was already asked, and the answer is sadly nope. Niccolo, I think it is important to implement pinning of widgets. Feel free to do it. Really, feel free. What animal is your favorite besides cats and dogs? I'll just take my girlfriend's favorite animal. What do you think to do a video about how KDE apps look good, how to make KDE apps look good on GNOME? I think this was asked already. I can give it a shot if I'm able. It's not easy to do that, to be honest, but I can give it a shot. Any plans on having Latidoc type functionality as part of the default KDE? Yes, the default panel is getting some features from Latidoc, but only a couple of them. Then no, not all of them, and only a couple. Like recently it got the adaptive transparency, which was already implemented in Latidoc, and now in theory it should get the floating panel option, which again was already implemented in Latidoc. Is there something on KDE that you want to change, but the main developers don't let it become reality? More transparency. I want more transparency, more blur, and I also want bottom rounded corners. How on earth did you type all that fast? I mean, I should have a decent fast fingers score. Let me show you how I fast fingers stuff. Let me just. But if you're referring to the commenter above, then I think it just copy-pasted it. I'm pretty sure it copy-pasted it. I want to be a KDE developer and contribute to open source. How should I start? You should start by going to kde.org and clicking on Get Involved. And then development, find out more about becoming a KDE developer. This is how I started, and it's a pretty good web page, so go for it. I would be super surprised if Badgie switched to Qt. Yeah, I know that Linux dude, I was joking. I even talked about it later on. And what was I saying? Yeah, I would be super surprised if we were going to use some Qt-based stuff. So overview on KDE was such a good implementation. Is there any plan to make the default method manage virtual desktops? Is there any plan to make the default method manage? It does already to some extent. I guess you can't like reorder them. You can only change their name. But yeah, that should be improved soon. So yeah, it's totally in the plans. Yeah, I was. No, you already asked. This is the second time I answered this. I don't know. Right now in college, what technologies will I have to learn? Anyway, I should go complete the global theme redesign work by adding the layout options I was meaning to add, clean up the code. Go for it. Like, I totally love that patch, so go for it. I'm going to end the stream like super soon too, so yeah. What technologies will I have to learn to make Linux apps one day? To learn, you should learn QML and C++, really. I think those two are the most important things. Everything else will just come natural after that. So you should get a book about C++ or whatever your preferred way to learn languages is. And then see some documentation about QML. It's actually rather easy to learn. So those two things. Do you speak any other language other than Italian and English? I do speak Python fluently, so just Python. Your desktop refreshing weirdly? No, yes, it's weird. I don't know why. Should be easy. By the way, that Linux dude, is the layout, where is it? The layout options. Is it only going to be like apply layout when you apply the global theme? Because I think that merged already. But are we actually going to get the whole KCM for layouts? Because I would totally be a fan of that. I don't remember if it was like part of it. Have you seen the screen and panels reordering video Marco posted on his YouTube? The screen, yes, I think I saw the patch. I think I already talked about it. Let me just bring it up quickly. Wrong Marco Martin. Still wrong. This one. This one, yeah, I saw it. No, not only I saw it, I saw the merge request, and I saw the merge request and I talked about it. Apply title buttons. Oh, apply title bar buttons layout. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, makes sense. And hide maximized borders. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Gotcha. Yeah, I think this could also make sense. Is your floating head a reference to floating panels? It is now. Are you single? Nope. Engaged. And the easy way to restore a KDE Plasma layout is probably through config saver, probably. But anyway, I think I'm ended the stream here because it's been over an hour and I'm slightly tired. So thanks everybody for joining in, and subscribe to the channel, give me money, that sort of things that you already know about. See you.